welcome, hola, what's good? Hey, y'all, hey, you are tuned in to Circle Up with Amanda Hurd. What's good, fam? Listen, here we are, season 3, episode 6, titled Deadly Emotions. You guys, I am so excited to be able to come to you during this chaotic time, during this time where we have been set apart, all alone to ourselves, trying to get back together in the world, moving fast, just mixed emotions. Kids are going crazy, kids are coming down. It's just things are up, things are down, getting into new places, leaving out of old places, opening new doors, closing old doors, stuck behind old doors, wanting new doors. There's just so much going on. There's always a time of chaos, and there's always some type of chaoticness going on in our lives on these crazy journeys that we find ourselves in. But listen, I am here to tell you that it is so important that we find ourselves filtering our emotions in the correct manner, processing all of these feelings through amazing filters that are going to help us be able to pull through during these crazy times. Daily Emotions was inspired literally by me one day just going crazy in my thought process, and one thing led to another, and then boom, I was like, oh my gosh, that's it, that's key, I cannot wait to share. So grab your snacks, drinks, and chairs, and let's get ready to circle up. What's up, what's up, what's up? I just want to take time to thank all of the listeners for bearing with me. Last week was just a time-lapse week. I promise you guys, I feel like the time was chasing me down. I thought I had it at hand at one point, and then before I knew it, I looked up and time was gone and I was still in the same spot. So, all that to say, last week we did not get to put out a new episode, which was fine because it gave plenty of you time to catch up on season 3, go back and listen to some of the old seasons, 1 and 2, find your favorite episodes, share them, tell a friend. I thank you so much for each and every individual who went out there and told somebody this past week about Circle Up, that inspired someone to tune in, someone to tell another friend, and just gather together and listen to them all together and kind of share your thoughts and ideas. Circle Up is all about building this fantastic community, far and near, just to be able to join together, share your tips and your tools, whatever you use to help you get through this journey called life, right? So thank you so much. Today we are here to talk about deadly emotions. So during the time lapse, let me tell you, we at Circle Up are in the process of redoing the studio, of just getting our lives together, and so there is so much going on right now, right? So if you hear some craziness in the background, some cars going by, an airplane fly over the sky or something, just bear with me, because right now the studio is literally my trunk, okay? I'm sitting at a park in my trunk going live, okay? So here we are, let's go. Deadly emotions. As I was in deep thought one day, I was thinking about how there's pretty much a time for everything. I read in the Bible a few years ago, and then most recently again, that there is literally a time for everything. And one of my favorite books in the Bible, it really goes deep in describing about there's literally nothing under the sun that there is not a time for. But with all of those things, that if we are not being purposeful in those time frames, if we are extending our time, meaning pushing past the deadlines that are in those time zones, then we are wasting time, and that they are meaningless. And not only that, that if we are doing this thing without Christ, it makes it an extreme meaningless. It makes it pointless. It makes it a waste of complete time. So going back to what I was saying, there is a time for everything. But in those time zones, there is a deadline placed there as well. As I began to sink into the thought of what happens when we surpass those deadlines, I really found myself in amazement. I was like, oh my gosh, Amanda, yes, And as we know, the mind is creative, so my thoughts were yes, yes, yes. They were deep and they were broad. My thoughts were all over the place. So I had to grab hold of one category and began to process it. That's where the thought of deadly emotions was birthed. When I hear the word deadly emotions, or the words more so, deadly emotions, some of the first things that cross my mind are deep sorrow, anger, pride, depression, and fear. And it amazes me, but not because, okay, deadly emotions, you think of something, or I think of something dead, gone, something that is, um, going to slowly take me out, right? And so, not just when I say deep sorrow, I'm not talking about something that was just a hurt my feelings and I can easily process and get over it. I'm talking about that thing that is so heavy, so weighed down that I can't just shake off. When I'm talking about anger, I'm not talking about being upset because I'm late for work or being upset because they got my food order wrong in the drive-through. I'm talking about something that has been in my heart for a set time, surpassing the time that I should have released it, and now has caused me to not be able to shake this thing off. There goes that plane, y'all. Pride. Pride, we all have heard somewhere along this line that pride comes before the fall. If we are not mindful when we are standing in pride, we are literally riding our emotions on full speed to something deadly. Depression. Depression is always so sad and so heavy and so weary. Once again, unshakable. And fear is definitely one of the top of the line things I begin to think about too. And fear, I think of it as a daily emotion simply because fear keeps us from reaching our purpose, from doing things that we may be good at, from processing things that we should try to process, from reaching goals, from just stepping outside of who we are because of what people may think, or even just because of simple things like the self-critic in ourselves, thinking that we can't do it, we can't handle it, and the list goes on. So fear is definitely one of the top things that I think about when I hear deadly emotions. Although there are quite a few of emotions out there that can be considered deadly emotions, if we don't take the process, or more so, if we don't take the time to process any of our emotions, good or bad properly, then none of them are exempt from turning into our worst downfall. So it is very important that we find a way and find light to process every emotion that we go through. We understand and set boundaries according to the time zone that we should allow ourselves to be healthy in the way that we process our emotions. And we'll talk about that a little deeper because it's not something that we can just put on the calendar like, oh, okay, today I'm going to allow 5 minutes of sadness to go by. No, it's a lot deeper than that. So we'll get back right. We'll get back to that later on in the episode. So emotions are forceful and persuasive. They have a way of controlling you if you don't control them. True or false? I'm going to say y'all out there saying true. Because this is what I'm thinking, right? When we're happy, it's almost like we create this atmosphere all around us that people, it's as if it becomes contagious. Like people around us become happy. People around us begin to feel the joy that is literally soaking in all around us. And they begin to tap into that and it makes them happy or makes them realize that there's something to smile about, something to smirk about. And even if they don't know the full intent of why we're happy, it's as if it begins to forcefully persuade them to be happy. And so I feel like with any emotion that you attach to that, it makes them all somewhat or in a way forceful and persuasive. And I say that they have a way of controlling you if you don't control them is because if you're not being mindful of the very emotion that you're in, it will override and it will become your, like I said, very atmosphere. And so if you're upset because, you woke up late and you're running late to work and you don't really process that emotion correctly, then by the time you get to work, then you're not just going to stop being upset. Now you're there, and every little thing that happens, you're going to be looking for somebody to blame or a finger to point, or, one thing goes down or points to another if you do not take control of that very emotion. So it's very important that we find a way to take control of the emotions as they occur versus allowing them to take control of us, right? They can make you believe things that are far from truth. If you give it to them, meaning surpass their deadline, they will literally rule you. They will completely run over you. One may think, well, how do you know the deadline of an emotion? Is it healthy to just process it on your own terms? Is it healthy to go on Google and say, how do I work through this unhealthy emotion? Is it something that I have to just wait until I wake up and don't feel like it anymore? Or is it something that I literally have to push back with the opposite emotion of in order to override it? These are all very healthy questions. All right, here we go. So the reason it's important to filter our emotions in a healthy manner is because each emotion and feeling is connected to another of its liking, meaning can lead or walk you into the room of a deeper zone of that emotion, which normally will cause a stronger hold of that feeling or that emotion. In better words, it will make it much harder for you to release from it. An example of that is like, as we were speaking, or as I was saying earlier, deep sorrow. Like deep sorrow, being deeply disturbed in your peace, so sad that it's just extremely heavy on your heart. That can lead to depression. And this isn't just, like I was saying earlier, a sadness of something light that may have caused you to shed a few tears, but this is a weight that has been laid on one's heart that is so unshakable. No matter what you hear people say, no matter what motivational speaker is speaking, no matter how many times you get up and try to do exercise through it or breathe in and breathe out, no matter what you do, it is unshakable. Many nights of pain and silent tears leaving you in a mute state. So that is just an example of how if you are in one place and you are not filtering those emotions or those feelings through its proper or healthy filter, then it will easily gravitate to something that is so much like its liking that will add to the weight of what you already feel. And we know how it is when things are stacked on top of things, one after another, after another, after another. It's hard to pull that little thing from up underneath the entire stack. You have to begin to peel or pull back in layers versus just being able to shake or move it out the way with one little snug or one little tug. So we want to make sure that we are being as healthy as we can with our emotions by processing them fully. Daily emotions are identified as emotional states that force you to believe that things are far left with no possibility of getting back. Daily emotions leave you feeling hopeless. They leave you feeling like you have a lapse in your faith. They leave you feeling like there's nothing out there for you. They leave you feeling like how you're feeling is the only way and the right way, and there's nothing that can be said or done to change it because you have a right to feel that way. And although there's a piece of truth to some of that, it is not entirely true. What I mean by that is, yes, like I said, there is a time and a place for everything. So yes, there's a time to be sad. There's a time to be joyful. There's a time to hurt. There's a time to weep. There is a time literally for every emotion that is built that you may experience. However, like I said earlier, there is a deadline to that thing. We cannot dwell in these sad places. We cannot dwell in these places that hold our heads so high in pride, where we feel like we have it all together always and nothing can knock us down and we are unshakable and nothing can pull us or snatch us from what we're doing or where we are alone. That is the key, alone. We cannot get to a place in ourselves where we feel like fear is is greater than what we have or what we've been called to do or what we've been called to be or purposed to be, we cannot allow that emotion to override and rule us. Because when we do that, once again, it's leading us back to being hopeless. It's leading us back to feeling a lapse in our faith. It's leading us back to feel purposeless. It's leading us back to feeling like we are worthless and have nothing to be able to overcome in life, or it strips us from everything that God has planned and purposed for us. And so that is just not a place that we want to be. That is how we can identify whether the emotion is deadly or not, or whether we've allowed that emotion to get to a deadly place more so or not. When we become in those stages where everything else is void and the only thing that is valid is that emotion, then we are in a dangerous zone. And once again, that is the zone that leads us to those dry places that have nothing in store for us of good. And so that's where we want to steer far away from. So let's dig a little deeper and talk about how to begin to process these daily emotions, or more so, how to begin to process our emotions overall before they even get to that state of being deadly. So whenever and I'm speaking more so on the ones that are heavy. I'm speaking more so on the ones that are not so easily to shake off, because those are the ones that seem to become deadly a whole lot quicker than some of the others. So whenever we find ourselves in those places that are very challenging to our character or very challenging to our situation, whenever we find ourselves in those places that is causing us to react in ways that are not pleasing to our loved ones, that are not pleasing to the people who look up to us or the people that are around us, or just are not even pleasing to ourselves, because it's not always about who sees and what sees, but sometimes it's simply just about yourself, and that's okay. When you find yourself trapped in a place where you're unhappy with you, that can be a danger zone too, because you either go left or you go right. You choose to do something about it that you can benefit from, or you choose to make excuses for it. And so we want to find a way how to process these emotions so that we don't end up in that place where we're making excuses for our uncomfortable feelings or for our wrongdoings, right? So first things first is you want to be able to identify that there is an issue. There is an emotion that has been here for quite some time, right? And if you've noticed that, you've been off a bunch lately, then that's the first step, and that's a good step. With that, now you want to begin to find yourself in a sacred place where you can just begin to release that thing onto God. And I say that because there's so many different things we have on Google that we can look up, and that will, lead us to places that's telling us, how to breathe or how to posture ourselves or where to go or what to do in order to release these feelings that we have on the inside, and a lot of them are very beneficial. I do not knock any of them. In a matter of fact, I would encourage you to add a lot of those to what the tool that I'm providing you with today. But first and foremost, I would say after you identify that you've been in that place, you definitely want to find you a sacred place that you can just begin to release. And in that release state, this is where it becomes personal, because all of us as individuals release differently. You know, um, some alike, but for the most part of what I'm saying is not everybody releases the same way. So if I'm a writer, I'm sure that everybody that's tuned in doesn't write to release. Some people dance to release, some people shop to release, some people let out loud noises to release. Some people sing to release. And whatever your process is of releasing, that is definitely what you want to do in your sacred place. And I'm saying sacred because it's important that, yes, we do get connected with someone, but first you want to be able to do this thing one-on-one with yourself. And I say that because we tend to be a lot more truthful with ourselves before we are with someone else. So even if you feel like, oh, no, I'm an open book and I tell everybody this, that, and the third, and I don't mind, you're going to be that much more with yourself first. And so after you identify, you get to that sacred place, and then you begin to release. You begin to write it out. You begin to shout it out. You begin to as like me, I used to like to pick up stones and feel the weight of what I was actually carrying and those emotions, and toss them into a lake, a river, a sea, because once I threw it out there, it would hit the water and it would sink to a place where I couldn't see it anymore. And so it made me feel like it was a sign of release. So that's what works for me. That's how I cope. And I love to write. So free writing is a good cope for me too. But whatever your release is, release. After you release, I encourage you to pray. Pray about it. God has all answers. God knows all what's best and what's going to work and what's not going to work. He's the only one who can change our situation from the worst to the best. He's the only one that can turn something inside out and upside down and make it still look presentable and beautiful. And so there's not a person, on earth who holds that power that he holds. We run into blocks of impossibilities here on earth. We run into situations that just do not align, do not make sense here on earth. But with God, all things are possible. With God and through God, all things can be fulfilled. All prayers will be answered. And so it's important that we make sure he is centered in the midst of these emotions. And then I encourage you to reach out to someone that you can trust. Find you a trustworthy person, whether this is your sibling, whether it is your best friend. If you have to go out and get professional help, whomever you can get to, your parents, whoever you can trust, because you have to have a trustworthy person. If not, you're going to keep back a lot of the things that you may feel embarrassed about, or a lot of the things that you may feel is unnecessary to speak on, or unnecessary to share. So you have to find that trustworthy person. Once you get that trustworthy person, I need you to find time and lay out truth to that person. And when you lay out truth to that person, have an open heart and an open mind, because you have to be willing and ready to hear the truth be told back to you, whether it's good or whether it's bad. Sometimes this is a place where it can be uncomfortable, because they may tell you things that you're not really ready to hear, but that it is necessary for you to hear in order to be fully released from that place. And so, with gathering those three tools and tricks and just utilizing them, filtering all of your emotions through those things, being able to push all of your feelings through those filters, and once again, that's finding yourself in a place of truth within yourself. So identifying what is actually going on, or that you do see issue in this place that you've been stuck in, this emotion, this feeling that you've been stuck in, and then going in a sacred place and just getting ready to release it, writing it all out, freeing it from within you, and then praying about it, making sure God's stamp is right there in the middle of it all, and then adding that special touch of a good friend, a close friend, a professional help, or whatever it may take. This is something that's going to definitely help you pull through in that area. I'll tell you this. Daily emotions are emotions that none of us realistically want to face. are emotions that are not comfortable to anyone. No matter how strong you are, how anointed you are, how long you've lived, emotions that hold a heavy weight that are placed on the heart are never comfortable. If although I gave you some pretty amazing tools that definitely work, and they sound easy, it's only about 3 steps. It's not that easy. It's never easy dealing with things that you just can't shake off. It's never easy dealing with things that are so real, and right in front of us. It's never easy dealing with that place of pain, hurt, frustration, aggravation when it's been built up on time and time and time and time again, and that time turns into years and years and years packed on stuff. It's never easy moving from a place feeling like you are dispositioned, but I promise you that it is worth it. I promise you that the God that we serve, the God that we look to, the God that we seek all of our answers to or from, He is always here for the best of us. Even when it hurts, even when it's confusing, even when it is a little uncomfortable. We have to understand that He's always looking from a greater view. He's always seeing things for the best. He's always working and moving on the behalf of those who love Him. And because you love Him dearly, because you love Him so much, He is here to help you get through these emotions. He is here to restore your hope. He is here to stretch your faith. He is here to guide and teach you into your place or lead you into your place of purpose. He is here to protect you, love on you, and give you everything that the heart desires, everything that you stand in need of. He is here to walk you through each and every step that it may take for you to overcome this obstacle. Deadly emotions are not emotions that were created for you to live in. Yes, maybe experience. Yes, maybe gain an understanding of how they work and how not to get there to help somebody else along the way, but never to reside there. So I hope that this message was encouraging to someone, uplifting to someone, able to build somebody or set a foundation or help you grow a boundary for some of the emotions that you go through. I hope that this message was pleasing to the ears that received it and worth sharing to someone else that maybe you know could use some tips and tricks on how to overcome daily emotion. I know that for me, I've experienced several daily emotions, and I say several daily emotions because my life was literally or has literally been the craziest roller coaster ever. Ups and downs, swirls and turns, drops, and the slow upcomings, the tick 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 tick, and then that big drop that just makes everything inside of you feel like it's about to come off completely out. So I know that these emotions are not always easily processed, but I have learned throughout time that when they are processed correctly, when there's things that are taking place that you have no control over, but you allow God to be in the center of it all, you allow Him to be the processor of your emotion, then things begin to turn for your good. Things begin to work out for the better. Things such as stress and frustration and aggravation begin to lift. You begin to be free from those places like never before. And when you come out of it, you're always able to see His glory. So until next time, guys, I hope that this was something that blessed you. I know that it has always been a blessing for me. Love you lots. Talk to you soon. Bye.